let's talk about one of the most valuable companies currently in the world. So let's talk about Nvidia. Nvidia are currently, do you know this? Nvidia are currently the third most valuable company in the US, behind only Apple and Microsoft. If you'd have told me this, like,
yeah,
right? If you'd have told me this 5 years ago, I'd have been like, the graphics card guys,
right?
Yeah, really?
Those ones?
What happened to AMD? Was there a boom for graphics cards? There was this AI thing happened. So turns out they have an 80% market share in AI chips. Like, that's insane. Now, that's that's domination. Nobody has that market share on anything. Like, that's so high. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So, not content with that 80% market share where they currently sit, and the booming stock, which is 5x'd since AI came out, which is insane. Not happy with that. At this year's, what they have an Nvidia developer conference, they announced a new, what they are calling physics-defying AI chip, which we'll talk about in a second. I put that in quotes for those of you listening. This is called the Blackwell chip. It's going to be the GB200. This is the successor to the currently wildly successful and hard to get H100 GPU. But these guys are selling out of what they currently have, and they're like, are we content with that and just make more of that? No. We'll make a brand new one. A brand new one that is a 4 times faster at AI training performance. 208 billion transistors on this thing, looking like it's going to ship later this year for $30,000 to $40,000 a pop per chip. The machines that it goes in are like 20. So I forgot what the price was. $200,000, I think.
$200,000.
Yeah, for one of the machines that it uses. Kind of nuts. They've claimed that it was $10 billion research and development for one of these chips. That's nuts.
Totally consumer grade, for sure.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have these. Yeah, we're going to be running Call of Duty on these things on our home PCs here soon, I'm sure.
I was going to say, can it run Crysis like that,
on Ultra? No.
Yeah. Can't do it.
I like it. So, Bobby, what do you think? Are Nvidia about to take over? Are they going to take over Apple and Microsoft at this point?
I think they could surpass Apple. I don't think they can pass Microsoft. The reason being that their primary customer, at least one of them, is Microsoft. So Microsoft's going, and if you're selling to the company that's upselling it, Microsoft will always make more money doing this. They also, I don't know when this boom will stop, but eventually will. And then I do believe that another competitor has to enter this market. There's no way if you're Intel, you're like, maybe we should do this AI thing. Maybe we could get some of that $1 trillion money.
Yeah, the market at this point is proven. One company owns 80% of it, and it's billions, and their stock is 5x'd. Like, how much more like proof do Intel need that this is a market they need to be in?
And AMD, so I know they don't make those kinds of chips, but Well,
they do though. AMD makes graphics cards. They make a Radeon series of graphics, so they technically have the ability. I'm sure. Maybe they just don't have the money to R&D it. $10 billion to make one of these. I don't know.
Yeah, they'll just back up a truck of money to over there and hire a bunch of people out of Nvidia, and then rebuild it. So. That's what I think. I don't think they can stay they're going to make lots of money, and full disclosure, own stock in Nvidia. So I want it to go as high as it can go right now, but like, it's pretty amazing, what they've done. And this is like recent. This isn't like the stock was trading, I think less than 6 months ago, $500. And now it's closing in on 1,000 as we write this. And so it's amazing what they've done. And it just shows you that AI, as me and Kevin were talking, we're seeing history in the making of, like, you're living through a shift. Like, when the web was in 97, you don't realize that you're living in history at that point.
Yeah.
And you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was kind of cool, And so we're living through this shift right now. And so as we get AI into everything, everyone's going to be buying these server farms and putting it in there. Where's the bubble? I have no idea. But like, it's going to go up and up and up until they get a competitor.
Yeah. And
it doesn't look like anyone's even close.
Yeah, they're improving on what is already great. That's the thing. They're not content with sitting with what they already have. They're like, no. We'll defy physics. Which, yes, they have said this chip somehow defies physics. I'm not a. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a physics expert or anything, but my guess is it doesn't. This guy is a great salesman.
Good marketer.
Yeah, he's a very, very, very good marketer. This guy is here to sell us these chips. Hence his comments about physics-defying chips, his comments around developers are no longer needed. This guy is here to sell chips. That's it. I don't think he believes these things, but he's good at his job.
The crazy thing is, like, I mean, they're leading the way, and it's like almost whoever is in the market first will continue to dominate. And it's like, what does this mean for the future? You know, it's like, who controls the AI controls the world. Like, I don't know what is it's like, seriously, you know?
It's true. It's
Where's
true
John
because
Connor?
Exactly.
Yeah, these chips are going to go in everything, aren't they? Seemingly, this is the new. I mean, this is the new thing that everybody's going to need to basically power. This is like the equivalent of, I don't know, like the invention of the modem, right? It's like it's the new thing that you need in order to do this thing. And right now, there's one company making them. That's crazy.
And only 5 companies are buying them. I mean, that's the other
right. Everyone's buying them, but but who cares what they do? Like, there's one company always profiting off it, and it's Nvidia.
Yeah,
because they're selling to Meta, Amazon, Facebook. I mean, Microsoft, Apple. That's their biggest customers.
So the crazy thing here is that, you know, it's the big companies that have the resources to play the AI game. And I'll give you an example. As a solo developer, I had this like novel idea, but like, I'm not gonna find like a, you know, like a angel investor to sell my idea. I don't even know if my idea is good, but
pitch it, Paul. Go for it. You might get one from here.
It's too late. I already saw an application that was created by it, and I was just like, man, like, I know they trained their own model, they did all this stuff. I'm like it like, whoever's in first, they will dominate the market. And so, like, even though like I had a good idea, the fact that I didn't act on it and didn't like create the thing first, it's like I missed the boat. But it is interesting because I feel like moving forward, as majority of people, they're going to be consuming somebody else's service. And it's going to be like the Microsofts, the Googles, the Metas. But as me, as Paul, like, I'm not going to create my own service. I don't have the resources to play the AI game at the scale that they do. And so we're always going to be like on the, you know, basically relying on them. It's like, they're going to be our water and our food, if you like to put it in that statement. It's like, and what does that mean? Like, if, like, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but imagine 1984 and my social score went down for whatever reason, and now I can't like talk to my AI assistant because, you know, Nvidia lords decided that I'm not, you know, like, that's it, cut me off. It's like,
I think the way it is right now, you're right. We're never gonna. Well, at this point in time, we're not gonna own this kind of hardware right at home.
No,
you talked about putting it in like an RTX card away. We're not going. And we may in the future. Maybe these come down to a point where this is the technology. But we're talking about a decade away, probably, for it to be affordable. So right now, as an average person, though, the only way that we can use this technology is through cloud. Right? We can rent one of these from Amazon. We can rent time on one of these chips from Amazon. Right? And that's the way it's going to work for now, or through Google or whatever it is. So we have access to it technically, but we're kind of renting it through somebody else who, of course, are marking it up, and they're investing whatever it is, $200,000 in the machine. They're getting that back in like days at this point. I'm sure they really are. The amount of people that need access to this stuff, that want to build apps with AI, you have to use their cloud services to build it in.
And I think our job, Paul, as developers is, you know, they provide like the basic ingredients for doing something, but we're going to the ones that's going to make the milkshake on top of this thing. So like, they may give us the milk and the ice cream, but we got to blend it together and make something cool with it. And I think that's the opportunity, that there's going to be a lot of fortunes made built on top of this stuff. Now underneath it, just like the internet revolution, you know, Cisco made mint while that was coming out, all the routers and firewalls and everything, that when they're putting the internet together, this is the same thing. The infrastructure, the backbone's being built out for AI. And whether that's Azure, at least for us, we have competition with AWS, Google, and Azure. And there'll be some other players that'll come up that give us a way to train a model, you know, and use it in the service in the cloud. But maybe we'll get it to run on chip eventually, you know, because that's, you got to realize too, today you can go to an Office Depot and buy like a 32 port, you know, 10 gigabit switch for, you know, $200, where before that was like $1 billion, you know, to do something like that in 2000.
To me, the way I look at it, it's like the only way you could participate and benefit from it is if you're, like you said, creating services based on the products that they're creating, or you're investing in the companies. And if you're not doing those two things, you're like, you have no way to play. Like you really don't. Like you're not gonna benefit from this AI, boom that a lot of these folks are experiencing on the corporate level as an individual, unless you own part of the company. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's kind of interesting that the people with the resources, they're the ones that are able to take advantage of it at the level where they're making the millions. They're making the billions. Like for instance, you look at, we talked a lot about like people selling their data, like from Reddit, it's like people added that content, but the companies get to benefit from it. And then we pay on top of it. And so to me, it's almost like, it's like they have to take advantage of it, but for our normal human beings, like you're not partaking in this revolution outside of paying for the services, building products with the services. And if you're like, well, how do I get my cut of this? Well, invest in the companies. That's the only way in my mind. Like,
well, some ways, like I do believe someone's going to win in this marketing automation space, where like I want to create a thumbnail, I want to create a title, and there's like a million of those out there. Someone's going to win in that space and make a ton of money over the next 5 years. And there's going to be some other thing that we haven't thought of yet that someone's going to build, and like, it's a good idea. Like, I wish I'd thought of that. Right. I could have built that, and so that's the way I look at a lot of things, like, still, I think CMSs are still going to be relevant, but can we integrate AI into that CMS? Can we help them write articles? Can we help them write content? And you can see with the release from Microsoft yesterday, and I was telling this Kevin today, is smart components. Now down to the component level, when I'm writing a thing, I can just literally hook up OpenAI back to this component and have a rich text edit. And I don't even have to prompt it anymore. It goes out and says, here's what you should put in this text edit based on the field it's attached to. It's getting to be easier to do. And it allows you to be creative in the apps you build. So for a coder, it's good. But you're right. On the trillion level, that's already been decided. There's like 8 or 10 companies that are going to win here. There may be one other surprise player that comes out of this that we didn't realize.
I just think that, these corporations are basically controlling all the magic boxes that we as individuals, majority, when I speak, like 90% of the world, we won't know how they work, but we will rely on their services. And so we're kind of having this relationship where we have to rely on the things that we don't know how they work. And we have to trust in these corporations that they have their best interest in us. And that to me is like scary, but at the same time, like what can we do? Like you can't.
Yeah.
Do we think there's a similar opportunity here for the every person, right? As there was with the internet, right? So the internet came around, and yes, there was a lot of like the people owned the backbone, right? It was AT&T and whatever, and all these companies owned the backbone, Cisco, whatever, for the hardware. A lot of companies made a lot of money, but then for the everyday person, they had an opportunity to not only just build applications as a developer, but then also use it to make money too. You could open a store, you could write a blog, you could use social media to make money. You could go on Instagram and have a following and make money. Do we think there's a similar thing here with AI for the every person? Is there an equivalent of that?
I hate to dominate this, but let me just say what I think. In the internet, we were looking at business models and we said, okay, here's this business model that's paper. Let me put that on the web. I think now what your mind has to shift from and say, what can a person do and how do I automate what they do? And so like, that's the thing where they're going to vertically integrate a person into some kind of piece of software. What do they do? And that's what AI says, the promise that we can do, which means that I have a marketing person. Can I make the marketing person better, faster, or replace them with some kind of AI? Can I make a lawyer replaced? A lot of people saying lawyers are going to be replaced. I think the only people that think lawyers get replaced are people that aren't lawyers. Right. The way I think about coders.
100%. 100%.
You need a good lawyer. You don't need to use the AI lawyer, but it could create a law firm that has like a really brilliant guy, and he can send out 50 of these kind of agents that do some basic research for him. He still writes the briefs or whatever, but like it goes out and does some stuff so he can review that. And I think that's where you might see people being able to create other companies that they couldn't before, and they can replicate themselves 10 or 12 times, something like that. I think that's the promise. It's not there by any stretch, but that's the promise.
I think for normal folks like that, like nobody has that, like nobody like wakes up in the morning. I wonder how I could use these AI services to create a product that solves somebody else's business. So it's just people either going to be consuming other services. So I think a lot of people will be left behind from the standpoint of actually benefiting outside of it being a service to them. that they could use. But in terms of someone like to make money with it, it's going to be the very small pool of people that either understand the technology and understand like the business. So for instance, like for me, like I cannot play this game at the level of like, Nvidia and Microsoft, even from the standpoint of being like some PhD expert that could create new models and whatever and research stuff. But I could, as a developer, look at the services that exist and try to figure out how to stitch them and glue them together to solve a business need for somebody else. But that's still like a smaller level that they're playing on. Definitely. And then if you go one level before that, then that's like, if you don't know how to stitch services together to solve a business problem, like you can't build things with it. And so I feel like it is going to, definitely have a huge impact on, like, because every business, they want to make a profit, and if they could automate stuff to get rid of some of the people, they will do it. And so
100%,
like to me, I am curious, like, what does that mean? Like, how do you move forward? And I feel like there's going to be so much money made by these corporations, and then at the same time, they're going to like dictate what the future holds, unless the government steps in and says like, hey, you need to have a company, for instance, need to be 80% human employed and 20% rely on AI. And if that doesn't happen, like the company will be like, yeah, we don't need humans. Like we don't like, because to me, it's just like the technology will continue to get better. And at some point the answer is like, can it replace a human? Or yeah, of course it will replace a human. But what does that mean for us as a culture?
This is where universal basic income comes in, and we all sit home and do nothing, right?
No, but and then the question comes like, what does that mean to be a human being? Like if you don't have a purpose to do
Who
things.
am I?
Your purpose is now to have fun,
to be a battery,
be a battery. Right.
And then that's how Matrix starts. You know what I mean? But like, but I feel like there's got to be like a big question. Like I don't. Like partly like I don't blame these big corporations, because if they don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. They have to win the biggest market share. They have to move the technology. But at the same time, they are getting so far ahead for like the power that they're able to have. It's like corporations going to get to a point, and some people will argue this, where instead of the government telling the corporations what to do, the corporations tell the government what to do.
I think they already do, but like I do think that
you're not helping the argument.
No, they already do.
You're like, no, but not at the level that they're be able to. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
I don't know, man. Insane. Lobbyists are strong.
Yeah, lobbyists are
they're
strong.
out there.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Have you heard of the World Economic Forum?
yeah. Oh man.
To Kevin's question, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
No, to Kevin's question, like I don't think it's going to be as accessible as like when the web came out, and any mom can start a blog with no real technical knowledge or anything like that. I think you do have to have a specific amount of technical knowledge in order to utilize like AI to the ability of where you are going to be making money. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be nearly as accessible as the web.
I think so too. I think the pool of people who are making money this time are smaller. That's to Paul's point. It's the companies, it's the people who are developers who could take advantage of it. The every person down the street who just wants to do something with AI that's going to change their life somehow or make money. It's not. They're going to just consume the service, like Paul says. They're not going to be able to build upon the service, I don't think, at least at this point. Maybe that changes.
I agree with you, but that's the promise that they're all saying. Like, you don't need to do this or that. You just type a prompt in and magic comes out. I will say this. If we look at these technology shifts, when we look at the web had very unintended consequences of like everyone could make a website at the end of that thing, where, before you had to be, if you look at 91 to 97, you had to be like a wizard. To do that.
I remember building tables and frames.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then hosting it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it made it accessible to everybody. And then we've gone all the way through 2024 where we still have CMSs. And before, if you own a pizza shop, you can make a website and open your pizza shop. So I think there's going to be some things that happen that people invent, and they're like, well, I didn't see that coming.
Right. And I'm wondering what that's going to look like. Yeah.
Well, if we knew, we would not do
we would be able to do it, and then we'd make all the money.
But someone's out there already has these ideas, and they're like, every transition creates companies. And if you look at the web basically invented Facebook. I mean, so like if it wasn't for Facebook, people don't know this, but when you think about it, it was invented in 2008. And that's insane when you think about it. You know, like it was just, you know, and then every social media company that we think is big and successful is after that. Right. I mean, when you look at TikTok, it is like, that thing was made like 2 days ago.
Exactly.
I mean, like you know, that's a young kid on the block, man. So that's why I'm excited about it. I think there'll be $1 billion companies that come out of it. Will they get as big as Nvidia? Probably not, but there's going to be another something that comes out of this. Will be a new sector of whatever they call it. And then we're like, wow, okay, they made $1 billion or 100 million or 50 million or whatever it is. But there's going to be some millionaires made out of this for sure.
Oh yeah.
But it's not going to be majority of the people.
It never is. It's always,
it never is. But
yeah,
the point that I'm saying is that in the past there was like more things that people were able to do, and I think like moving forward, that pool is going to get smaller, smaller, and smaller to a point that's like there are basically like a fundamental shift of how society work will have to change. Yeah. And I'm on the side like we're probably going to have like Elysium in real life. I don't know if you saw that movie. Very crazy movie. Or like we shift. So like I grew up on the, like, again, I don't want people to mistake this, but like I grew up under like communism in Russia, and like this whole concept of socialism where people have shared services kind of like they use, and it's like everybody shares with everybody. And it seems that moving forward, like the way society is going to be, there's just not going to be like, we all would have to use these shared services, like, you know, and you know, like, just because majority of the people, and this is far in the future, I don't know how far it is, but like definitely foresee that majority of people will not have a job that they could get, like that they could do. Like, I mean, it's just like what it seems. I don't know how far in the future that is, but like the music thing that you showed today, like that's insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for a majority like of people, that's like, it's good enough. Like I don't need to hire real artists to do
I
this.
agree. I think a lot of people would be like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, you know, it's not the best song ever. You probably wouldn't do it on the charts, but you know, I mean, but that took all of 30 seconds to make. Maybe if I spent more time on it, it would be better.
So the point with AI is that it's only going to get better. And like, you know, the movie industry, they're going to invest a lot. If they could have digital actors and not real actors in someone's likeness, they're going to do it.
I actually saw a really good demo this week. Maybe we'll talk about this next week, but I saw a really good demo of a voice replacement in a scene. So it used a scene and it had cursing in the scene, and they wanted to create a PG version. So they used AI to rewrite the script and have the actor's face digitally changed to say, you know, the non-curse version of the lines. And it was really, really, really impressive. I can imagine like post-production and editing being a whole other ballgame. They still have to create the thing and have the scene and do all this stuff. But like little things like for dialogue replacement and those kind of things, AI can handle it. It can do it right now. And it did a really good job at it. You couldn't tell it was AI. It was that good.
So that means I don't have to listen to those bad dubs on Netflix anymore?
No, that was a point. Yeah. No, that was one of the examples they gave, was they took a thing and they redubbed it into a different language with the voice and everything and the math movements and everything. And it was legit. It was really good. I'll have to send you guys the link. It was very impressive. So yes, you wouldn't have to, that show from like Norway that has the dubbing on it, the show is great, but the voice is like off sync, whatever. Yeah, you're going to be able to have the English version of it.
Yeah, I always laugh at the dubs because the English version is the dialogue's always off. Like, it's just so weird, you know, like,
yeah.
I just rather watch subtitles, just subtitle it.